I just have so many WIPs. Okay, so today will be a cozy presentation of my WIPs. So let's go through them. Hi, I'm Natalie and I like to share what I've been knitting on, other crafty projects and my gardening at the end of every month. And this month I don't actually have any finished objects to share with you today, but I do have a load of WIPs. So let's have a look at my first. Okay, so I shared this in my last knitting update for September, and so this is my first WIP. It is the Halibut sweater by Caitlin Hunter. It is a DK weight pattern, so I'm using the woolly knit cone in the colour cream for the main colour, and for the contrast colour I am using the heavy merino by Knitting for Olive. Now, in my last episode, I did say that I was using heavy merino, and someone correctly pointed out or asked why I was using a worsted weight yarn as the contrast color. And I actually didn't realize. I actually got gauge using both together. So it actually is a happy accident, because I really like the way the heavy merino stands out against the DK weight yarn. It seems to sort of help the design pop a little bit more. So I'm very happy with that. It's going pretty well. It's not a color work pattern that is too taxing. And so far I'm knitting exactly to pattern, except for the collar. So I decided to do a folded collar, which has made this lovely, neat and cinched in collar, which I love. So yeah, so that's my first WIP. Very enjoyable knit, and I can't wait for the finished product. So for my birthday this year, last month, I was given some cash, so I decided to treat myself to some fancy yarn. So I decided on getting some Boucher's yarn, Le Petit Mohair, and I bought two colorways. First being light yellow, so it's got this lovely golden color. Which I have a plan for, but that's later. Chuck that there. So I bought like 9 balls of that colorway and 8 balls of this dark burgundy grey colorway, which is this gorgeous color. And it's the softest mohair that I actually have ever felt. So my plan was to knit this up together. I don't know what I was thinking, but my plan was to knit this up together to make the heirloom sweater by Fable Knitwear, which I have been planning for, I think at this point, for years. I swatched and it was not a good pairing at all. So I actually thought that this would go together. My plan was to make a more grey toned garment, but in the light I thought it would have like flecks of this burgundy, especially as the name of this burgundy is dark burgundy grey. So I thought it would match, but together they just looked appalling. The heirloom sweater requires a fingering weight yarn held with a lace weight yarn, and I didn't want to do the traditional, or not traditional, traditional for me. What I tend to do is woolly knit cone is my workhorse yarn, held together with some drops alpaca, because holding yarns double, especially if you have a mohair or alpaca requirement, it can get quite expensive. So drops is like the affordable way to do it. And I didn't want to do that with the heirloom sweater because I really love this yarn. I rave on about it. This is the All Centrum Swedish yarn that I absolutely adore. But I didn't want to do that this time. Might end up doing is just holding this on its own to make the heirloom sweater, and maybe just going down a needle size just to get gauge. I'm sure that'll be fine. My plan didn't really work out. So then I had like 8 balls of this mohair in my possession. It was quite expensive. So then I looked at the receipt to think, okay, if it doesn't work out, my original plan doesn't work out, what I'm going to do is return the yarn. And unfortunately, the website that I purchased this from don't accept returns, which is pretty annoying. I was left with this yarn, so what I decided to do is knit a dress. Now, again, I don't know what I was thinking. Wanted to, knit a cozy, because this is, as I've said before, it feels really nice against my skin. So I thought, being draped in this would be really luxurious. Looked at some dress patterns, wasn't too inspired, so I decided to maybe look for a t-shirt pattern. And what I found was the Floodlight tee by Tanis Fiber Art. It's a simple yoked t-shirt and with a tie on the back there. This is still at WIP stages. It's more like a smock, because what happened, I didn't want to get caught out because I held the mohair double. So originally I had 8 balls. I went back to the website as I was knitting on this, and I thought, okay, this is not going to be enough for a dress that will sufficiently cover my modesty. So I went back to the website and matched the dye lot, and there was 1 ball left. So I bought that ball. So then I was on the hunt for a couple more balls just to make the dress a little bit longer, because at the moment, well, not at the moment, I think rather than being a dress, it's really going to be a smock. It's not schmock, is it? It's a smock. I will insert some pictures, which I'm okay with. I tried to find the exact colorway, and I emailed a couple of stockists, but only one got back to me. And then I thought, I don't really want to buy more yarn, so I'm just going to make do, because actually this length is actually perfect for wearing with leggings and boots, and I'm happy with that style. For the pattern, you cast on over 100 stitches. You start sort of at the neckline, and from then you're increasing across the yoke. As I was knitting on it, it's definitely a trust the process kind of knit, because as you progress, you realize that the neckline is super wide because, you know, over 100 stitches, you end up with quite a wide opening. Essentially, once I got to separating for the sleeves, I immediately knit on one sleeve just so that I could put aside a ball for the second sleeve, and then I knew that I could use the rest of the yarn to do the length of the garment. I used woolly knit cone, some old burgundy that I had for the I-cord. Now, for the I-cord, it was doing the Lakewood cowl that I learned that if you are strategic about how you pick up for your I-cord, you can then narrow the opening of the neckband. So I was able to do that, and then it fastens with a little I-cord tie at the back. So yeah, so that is that. It feels absolutely lovely, and you also do a 3-stitch I-cord on the cuffs for the arms, decreased for the arms, and then when I got to like halfway, I did a few increases as well. So I will do the same on the left side. And yeah, so this is a cute little top, and also for the bottom hem, I essentially went rogue. I used the numbers of the Floodlight tee, but other than that, yeah, I just sort of knit how I wanted it, and yeah, so it feels lovely and has a lovely drape. So I'm looking forward to having this as a bit of a layering piece and over leggings and things like that. So just have the second sleeve to go, and then weave in my ends, and that will be that. So let's pop that in. So as you can see, I am wearing the ubiquitous Ranunculus by Midori Hirose. I actually knit this a few years ago as a gift for my mother-in-law for Christmas. She says she loves it, but the problem with it is that it's too short in the body. Now, I am about 167 centimeters tall, 5'6", something like that. And I thought the length would be fine for her because she is, I would say, like 5'2", 5'3", something like that. She's tiny. So I thought the length would be okay. I was obviously wrong. I should have actually consulted with her, but I wanted it to be a surprise as it was a Christmas gift. But I will stand up and show you what the length is on me. So if I was knitting this for myself, I wouldn't have knit it so short. It is pretty short, but it's fine with, you know, high-waisted trousers, high-waisted skirts, and all that jazz. But for my mother-in-law, obviously she's a lot older than I am, it's probably, the length is probably not appropriate. Just completely misjudged on my part. So I asked her to give it back to me, and I would try to see if I can put it back on the needles and add some length to it. But then when I got it back, I was like, oh, I don't really want to risk, you know, ripping back and putting it back on the needles, because I knit this from Drops Alpaca Silk in the colorway Pink Sand. Yeah, I just didn't want, so I actually thought, okay, I tried it on and I thought, okay, I could actually wear this. It's, the length is not ideal for me, but I can still wear it. and I told her that I would knit her another one, which is my third WIP. So I asked her to, I showed her like the catalogue of the drops alpaca silk colours, and she picked the colour that she liked. It was either a blue or a pink. She has like very white blonde hair, so I think either the pink or blue would have really fit her well. So yeah, so she opted for this sort of aquamarine. It's not really coming up true to, it looks baby blue in the camera, whereas in real life it's more like a aqua color. I could find out what the color is. Let's see what the exact color is. Okay, so the colorway is 15. Yeah, so the color is 15. So yeah, I don't know what that is, but um so this is her new Ranunculus. So I'm only at the short rows currently. But yeah, I started to knit a Ranunculus for myself after I had knit this one and had gifted her the sweater. I started to knit one in black mohair, and I think I got to maybe around here, and then I like had double the amount of stitches that I needed, and it just did my head in, and I just ripped it back, and that really put me off the pattern for some reason. But yeah, maybe it's not the ideal pattern to knit in black. So I'm actually happy to tackle it again. It's not the most enjoyable pattern to knit, but now that I've got my own ranunculus, I can see the I can see the appeal, because it is a pretty sweater and it just looks really nice with skirts, and I particularly like the color that I've used, and it's light, it's airy. So yeah, I finally have my own ranunculus, and hopefully I will knit one that is the appropriate length for my mother-in-law. I should resist the temptation to re-gift this as another Christmas gift this year. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. So one thing about me is that I love horror movies. And in the month of October, I love nothing better than to gorge on horror movies, like every day. No, not every day, but at least watch a horror movie, like 4 times a week or something like that. So I have been thinking about horror movies, asking for recommendations for horror movies. Just love them. It just makes me feel cozy. It gets me psyched for Halloween. My husband does not like horror movies whatsoever, so I tend to watch them on my own normally. But for Halloween, he does make an exception. So we tend to take it in turns to pick a horror movie. So I actually make sure that I pick one that he's going to stand a chance of enjoying. So this year, I'm thinking of either suggesting Frontier, which has been recommended to me. It's a French horror movie, or The Hitcher has also been recommended, or something like Wolf Creek. I like those kinds of either psychological or like teen scream types of like road trip type horror movies, or like Cabin in the Woods, that type of thing. I love that. So yeah, so October means that I'm thinking about horror movies a lot. So I was reminded of the movie The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. Classic. It's a classic. I started to think about the carpet pattern on the at the Overlook Hotel. And I thought maybe it would be pretty cool to find a pattern and knit some socks, because I'm due some knitted socks, getting my sock mojo back. So I did a search for the shining pattern socks, and found my fourth WIP, which simply called The Shining Socks by Kraftling for Lovecraft. So this sock is a paid pattern, but you can find free patterns of the color work chart online. But what struck me about this pattern is that it's an afterthought heel. So I have had my fill of, heel flap and gusset construction. I have almost exclusively knit that kind of sock, but I am at this point I'm wanting to experiment with different constructions, because I'm finding that the heel flap and gusset doesn't really fit my foot as well as it could. So I'm happy to explore. So I'm happy to explore different ways of knitting socks. So yeah, so this pattern comes with a afterthought heel. So I'm tempted to knit this as like a pop sock or a knee sock, or just under the knee sock. The pattern says the regular length of them is 2 pattern repeats. So this gives you this length with a 2-inch cuff. But I actually want these a lot longer, because I'm thinking if I'm going to go through the trouble of knitting um, this beautiful pattern, I want to have it seen while I'm wearing them. So unusual for me, but I have stuck with the recommended yarns, which are so these are Cascade Yarns Heritage. So it's 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. Yeah, it doesn't actually say what the colors are. But when I came to buy it from Wool Warehouse, they didn't have the red colorway, so I actually bought the red in Drops Flora, which is fine. So, and the brown and the orange in the Cascade Heritage yarns. This yarn is super soft, lovely, really nice. So I think it will make a very warm and soft sock. Really happy with how it's coming out. It's a very fun pattern to knit and it goes pretty quickly. So I guess next, well, when I've knit to the length that I want, I will put some of the stitches on the hold and then go and knit the foot, I assume. Yeah, so I stuck with the original colours of the carpet, and it has, like the film, it has this 70s vibe. And yeah, and the colours are very seasonal as well, very horror, not horror, very autumnal. So you've got the red, and actually I think the colour of the orange is pumpkin, and I have a mini pumpkin here just to just to compare, and it's yeah, pretty accurate. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to having these socks. I probably won't have them in time for Halloween. It would be cool to sit and watch my horror movies in my shining socks. But yeah, so that's my fourth WIP. Hi, 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 Bobby. The cat just knocked my camera. Next. So next is a project that I really want, but don't want to knit it. No, that's a lie. I want to knit it, but currently I'm at a very boring place. So it's a proper snooze fest right now. So I am working on the Ryoanji skirt by Isager. Beautiful skirt, but I am currently using the smallest needle in the world. Well, you get my point. To knit the waistband. And it's a folded waistband, and I'm currently knitting the facing portion of the waistband. This green yarn here is my provisional cast on. So I need to knit the facing and then put the provisional cast on back onto the needles and then sew those two together, probably by knitting two together. And then I will have my folded neckband, not neckband, my folded waistband. And then I can get on to the sexy part of the skirt. It's a beautiful skirt. I love the shaping, and it seems like you've got that, the cinching, which will be nice, which is typically quite flattering on most shapes. It's not the skirt, it's just knitting the waistband. It's just, and yeah, knitting on very small needles. So it's taking a while. You do knit the main body of the skirt using slightly bigger needles. It's a 4x2 rib, which I think will be quite interesting. I have 7 balls. Oh, so I am using the Knitting for Olive in Pure Silk in this gorgeous raspberry pink type of colour. Well, it's not type of colour, that is actually literally the name of the yarn. Feels very nice. A lot of people complain of the knitting for olive silk as being quite drying, but no, for me it's fine. It's just a bit of a drag knitting this waistband. Um, but obviously it's always better for something like a waistband to be a folded waistband. I think in the pattern there is the option of inserting some elastic, which I might do depending on how it fits. But yeah, I just need to kind of power on and get through this sort of boring part. You do start to do the 4x4 rib. So most of the waistband is in stockinette, but on the sides, you do for the facing, you do start to do the 4x2 ribbing on the side, and then it continues once you have knit the waistband. I'm not looking forward to undoing this provisional cast on and putting them back on the needles. I just find it a bit boring. Not boring, but it's a bit fiddly sometimes. I prefer instead of putting them back on the needles, I actually prefer when you pick up a stitch and knit two together. It just seems a lot easier. But at this point, I am just following the pattern. Shut up and follow the instructions. I'm just enjoying a knitting break actually now. God. I'm actually knitting in the evening, not filming. I'm actually filming in the evening today because I wanted to try out the ambiance of evening filming. Don't know how viable that is, so please let me know. Do you prefer these videos filmed in the daytime or at night? Or just put a pumpkin in the comments if you don't care. So anyway, and then we have my 6th WIP that hasn't grown any. I love this. I just want the product. Okay, I love knitting. I knit all the time, but sometimes patterns just require a little bit too much of your brain power. Sometimes you don't have that capacity for it, and this is one of them. It has been on my needles since February, and it's October, nearly the end of October. Maybe not maybe, there's no maybe about it. It's going to be a long-term WIP. It's just that every single stitch requires concentration because it's white on black. So if you do make a mistake, yes, you can duplicate stitch any mistakes over, but I'd rather not do that. And any mistake is clearly visible and it can fuck up the rest of the pattern as well. So I don't want to make any mistakes. But also, now that I have been knitting quite a few folded over hems, I think that this would just look so much better as a folded hem. But I still have the majority of the sweater to knit. If any of you guys actually want to knit this, I can take all the credit, but you can be my ghost knitter. HMU, hit me up, because that will be pretty cool. And on that note,
Happy Halloween!
there's no ghost knitters around here. I will persevere. I will find the time and inclination and brain space and capacity to finish this because I really want this as a sweater. I think I would just live in it if it was, once, not if, once it's finished. What the fuck? If you've enjoyed this video, don't like it. Don't subscribe. Psychology. Take care, and I'll see you soon.